Greetings everyone. It's the what's the date? It's the 4th of the 5th 2020. Sorry I haven't done anything for a couple of days. Things have been good though. Coming to you again from the top of top of the South Island here in Nelson. And we're going to go over a few more words today and delve a little bit deeper into the unfathomable language of words. And again, these are the rules. Caveat emptor, Latin, means buyer beware, or put another way, as the Romans would put it, let those that be deceived, okay? And we've learnt before that all that's about the words and the spellings. We know that English is an equivocal language, meaning duplicit, unclear and vague. And we also know that the universe doesn't speak in English or any other language for that matter. It speaks in frequency. Okay? In the beginning was the Word. And the book of the Bible tells us, in the beginning was the Word, which is a sound, which is a vibration, which is a conveyance of energy, which is information. Maybe it was a universe. Maybe the first om, the first sound, was a united verse. George Bernard Shaw said the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Okay, and that's what's going on. So we're going to do a little bit more work on the smorgasbord of truth. It's a smorgasbord, it's more gas aboard. A little bit more truth. You might say, oh, whose truth is it though, Noel? Oh, that's up to you guys. You know, you've got to assure yourselves. You've got to measure these things for yourself. Because I've told you before how truth rings true. Rings true, doesn't it, truth? So if it rings true for you and you can vibe with it, all well and good. That's your truth. But it's up to you. But we've got to be aware of things that are going on. Have realised and realise that the real lies that are out there, and have real eyes to be able to see all these spells that have been cast. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more elaborating on some words, and we're going to see a little bit how we're getting into this unfathomable world again. You've got the world of the living over here, lawful rights on the land, makes sense, it's the truth, it sounds good, sound is ground, good grounding. But over here are in the world of the dead, okay? Remember what I've said to you before? There's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Unfortunately, that's what we got going on. And a lot of that's being led by the media. The media's doing a lot of that, media. And the Media was a place in Iran a long time ago. Let's go and start on that, shall we? So again, let's leave you with that while I pull up a window here. Somewhere, he said. Okay, I'm here on Wikipedia, and we're looking at Medea. So I'll try and make that bigger for you. So we'll go. I'm not going to have to put you down there for a minute. We'll just go like that. Okay, made it a bit bigger for you there. So, Medes, otherwise known as Medea. Okay. Now the Medians spoke the Median language, who inhabited an area known as Medea, and it was between western and northern Iran, late 9th to early 7th century BC. Okay, Median Empire. So there were, but I want you to just take note of this bit down here too. With the priesthood named as Magi. Okay? During the reigns of the last Median kings, the reforms of Zoroaster spread into western Iran. Okay, so that's Media in ancient times. And today we have the media, don't we? We have the media that leads the people, gives us all our information. Isn't it? I want to give you a quote here. This quote is, it's entitled Propaganda. It's by a guy called Edward Albanese, and he was the father of modern advertising. That guy there. Okay, this is his quote. He was actually the nephew of Freud, this guy. Okay, he says, the consciousness and intelligent manipulation of the organised habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democracy, in a democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are moulded, our tastes are formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. This is a logical result of the way in which our democratic society is organised. Vast numbers of human beings must cooperate in this manner if they are to live together as a smoothly functioning society. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind. Okay, he was a pretty clever lad, that guy. And that's what he said about propaganda. And we get a lot of our propaganda through the media. In fact, I think you'll just about find that most of it is propaganda. I mean, that's what they do. That's pretty much what they do, folks. It's all theatre. It's all theatre for the gullible. Your news and your TVs. All from Medea. You've got these individuals called prostitutes. Journalists and talking heads in the mainstream media who give biased and predetermined views in favour of the government and corporations, thus neglecting their fundamental duty of reporting news impartially. Okay, you're never going to get it, folks, from the TV, from the monitor, and the programs that they give you through those monitors, because they monitor you, don't they? I mean, that's what's going on. I mean, this is the disconnect that's out there. This little young fella saying, so what you're telling me is that I can use Wikipedia for my research paper, but things like the New York Times, CNN, Fox News, and the Washington Post are credible sources? I mean, you got to be kidding. Remember, I told you all about the source. Remember how we worked out about the source? The source is the energy, the battery, the cell, and we all sail by, don't we? The source, the condiments on the food for thought, on the smorgasbord of truth. We've got source up here. Okay, source is the powers, the energies, the information. Because we need information to be in information. Again, I'm going to probably cover a few things we have already covered before, but there's a few more things that I've added to the board here that we're going to cover today. Okay, that's how it works, folks. Again, they've got to tell you what they're doing in front of your face. Again, it's the old term, caveat emptor, buyer beware. If I tell you in lovely flowery language how I'm going to come round to your house, eat all the food in your fridge, park up on your couch for a couple of hours, watch your TV, then grab it and your stereo, throw it in the back of your car and leave with it, and you don't do anything about it, or you've consented to it unknowingly, then you're going to get left with a sour taste in your mouth because you've been sold lemons. And that's what's going on. For a long time we've been, just putting the date in there, we've been sold lemons, folks. through these institutes. The institute is pressing, isn't it? It's pressing. What does it do? What does the press do? Oh, it brings us to news, doesn't it? Remember where news come from? I told you about news. How news is the north, east, west and south. In the old days, the kings would send riders off to the boundaries of his kingdom, his dominion, and they would come back. He would send pages. He would send the pages of the book, of the chapter, the different chapters. So he would send his riders off to the boundaries of his kingdom, and they would come back with information of what's going on in those areas. Okay? There would be an interview and a report, and he would have the information from the press. Okay, that's how that works. So, what's happening here is through the words and information that we're being told, and our understandings or our interpretations of those words, sorry, it was out of view, are getting lost in the fray, are getting lost and getting us from this world here over into this world here. Because the press and the media works in several ways. Oh, yeah, interesting. Interesting about depression there too. Depress. Ion. See the ion there? Ion. Depress. Depression. Is that what the press is doing? Actually comes from the printing press, actually, the Gutenberg. Printing press, because they would press the ink, the thought, into ink. And they would put it on a page, and the pages would be distributed and put into a book. And this is what we have. We have books today. We get booked. There's several important books out there of law, ways to live, and ways to get lost. Because in this book over here is where all the deception is. It's where all the double speak. All the double speak, and the ciphers, and the codes, and the discord, and the legalese. Remember I've told you about legalese, what legalese is? It's a language that looks like English, sounds like English, but is not English. I'll give you an example of that. Most of you people out there will think you're a good person. Well, I've told you about person and persona. If you go to the different definitions of person, there are actually 12 in Black's Law Dictionary. It says 1, a human being. Well, I've already told you what a human being is. It says sea monster, one that cannot inherit land. 2, an entity, such as a corporation, that is recognised by law as having the rights and duties of a human being, but they still can't own land. Okay? And then there's artificial person, an entity such as a corporation created by law, also termed a fictitious person. Juristic person, legal person, moral person. It's artificial, folks. Even if you're moral. Oh, you can say, I'm a moral person. You've just contracted yourself into an artificial entity. And then you have natural person, a human being, again, as distinguished from an artificial person created by law. Still dubious about that one myself. See, personality, the legal status of one regarded by the law as a person, the legal conception by which the law regards a human being or an artificial entity as a person, also termed legal personality. So in legalese, person has much more than one meaning. You would assume legal documents refer to the legal person. We should at least ask for the definition, because this is how they're doing it. It's by the duplicity of the nature of the language. It's built in. The discord is built in, folks. You go into these channels called discord, and you sit round and you dis, and you cuss, and you con, and you verse. You converse and discuss. That's what we do in this world over here. Over here we communicate, folks. Common unity over here. The universe, one verse. In harmony. in accord, in accordance. Remember how that all worked? In accord, in attune, in atonement. All these things are talked about in these are all biblical terms, aren't they? I don't mean to be biblical. As I've said before, I'm not a religious man. I don't like being bound once, let alone twice, because that's what this book is. Again, some people have asked me about the, I gave a close-up on this the other day. This is a Masonic Bible. I brought this at the one of the Sunday markets down here in Nelson quite some time ago. So it's, yeah, so I'm by no means a Mason. Although I could consider myself a builder. Or a destructor, actually. Because all these are constructs. All this is a construct. It's construction, it's conspiracy, it's confused, and the cons are on the table. That's how that works. So we're getting into lots of trouble with the words and the media, listening to the press. Interview, in between, a view that's in between what's going on and maybe what's being reported. What's to report? Remember report? What's a port, folks? Oh, it's where you berth your vessel, isn't it? Your ship. And you're doing it again and again because they just repeat and repeat and repeat. They press, they pressure, they impress, and they express. That's what they do. Impress, express. That's what happens. They've got to tell you in the words of what they're doing. They tell you in the words of what's going on. They have to. Again, because that confers your consent. Again, as I said with my analogy of me coming round to your house, it confers consent if you don't disagree, or you don't object. Actually, we want to have objections. We want to have objections to stop our ships in the water. Objects. That's what they do. Objects stop vessels in their motion of going forward. There's been a line drawn, and we can say no. Because with knowledge, we have responsibility and the ability to respond. Again, it's to learn, to each, is to earn it, to mind it. Remember the mind? If you don't mind, it won't matter. That's what it is. You've got to start taking control of this. Your state of mind. Your real estate. Back on the land. You've got to get back to your real estate. Unfortunately, we've got a system of media that's repressing and impressing and expressing lies. It's propaganda, folks. That's what it is. It's propaganda. To get you thinking in a certain way and to maybe tell you a little bit of truth, but not the whole truth. They'll never tell you the whole truth. Even though they'll get you to swear on that. You don't want to be swearing on that, folks. You want to be affirming things. Because remember, affirm things is back on the land. That's solid. It's got good grounding. It's been tested and proven. Truth works. Causing no harm works. Being honest works. Being kind to others works. This over here, this game, there's no love in this game. Because remember, you're caught. You're caught in that game. And what do they do in the court? Remember how I've told you about, again, this is the living over here, and this is the dead. And this is where, at the moment, 99% of us are operating. And in the public, with all the liability, all the abilities to lie and deceit, with the legalese and the doublespeak, that are conveyed in ciphers and signs and letters that rent you. Letters and rent. Are you letting your building or are you renting it? Either way, you're back in the commerce. It's a commercial enterprise. A corporation, remember the legal definition of person, corporation. Oration means to speak in Latin, and corpse is dead. That's how it works, folks. They've got to tell you what they're doing. They've created the person, which is you. You'll all agree you're a good person. But be careful, because there's 12 definitions here. And you assume, we all know that word, don't we? I think most of us have broken that word down before. Ass, you, me. That's how that one works, isn't it? Ass, you and me, make an ass of you and me when you assume or presume. You know what I mean? Because then you're under pressure, aren't you? You're back into that press again. You see that? You see how that works? Hey, is that pressure? It is pressure. Because it's trying to steer your vessels. It's trying to navigate your vessels for you. That's what it's doing. It's mind controlling you. And it's lies. That's what it does. It tells lies. Or spin. They call it spin, don't they? They put their colour on it and their spin. Oh, wait a minute. That's what's going on with all our language. All the casts that are being spelled. The castings and the spellings. They're all cast, aren't they? Those casters that give you the news. They're newscasters. Giving you the press. Hey? The pressure. They impress. They express. And they repress. Well, they express the impression and then repress. They keep going over it again, doing it again and again. They've got to. They've got to, because they know you're very clever. They know that they can't get you thinking outside of their narrative. Because once you start thinking outside of their narrative, you can start asking questions. Hey. And we're under this rain, aren't we? Oh. I'm going to make that way. We're under this rain at the moment, aren't we? QE2? Well, you should question everything twice. Because it's a rain, isn't it? Raining, we're back into that water again. See how we're back into the vessel? It's all about your liquidity, your value, your cost and your worth. Your body is your vessel, your vassal, your little ship on the seas of commerce, folks. Commerce. Mercy. Mercy is thank you. It means money. The merchants on the sea, they were traders. Were they traders or traders? Oh no, they were traders. Stock traders. Weren't they? They had stock on board. They were all on board. Wasn't all above board though. In the old days, the old sailors would sign above board, wouldn't they? They'd put their X there above the board to show they were above board. Their signatories, they became signatories. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. They became signatories to things, didn't they? All the produce, all the cargo, the carriage of goods on the vessel that was a she. They call ships she, don't they? Because they carriage goods. Carriage of goods, folks. That's what she does, the womb of man. The womb of man. The womb of mankind. The familiar. Kindle. It kindles things, which is kin. Put that in there. Which is gold in Japanese. And that's AU. That's AU. And that's ore, isn't it? Was that ore? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, that is. That ore. That's pretty solid stuff, isn't it? Shiny and sparkly. It's awesome. You see how that works? But you're back in the water again. Because, of course, it's all about the liquidity. It's all about the liquidity. The liquidity is the value, the cost and the worth, folks. They've got us all wrapped up into this stuff, this money. Money, the definition of money is gold and silver. Poor man's gold is silver. Obviously the rich people had gold. He who holds the gold What's the golden rule? That's the golden rule, isn't it? He who holds the gold makes the rules. He who holds the gold makes the rules. Imagine if that was you that held the gold, the true liquidity, the true value, and the true worth. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that, eh? Imagine how that would work. And so, yeah, and so this is what all this money here, the paper notes, they give you a note, which is a sign, isn't it? A note's a sign. You leave a note on someone's door, don't you? To give them a sign of something. They call that tender. Oh, that's tender. You know, I'm making it sound like I'm eating all the food in your fridge at the moment, and it sounds nice because it's tender. You're going to be ill though, because there's no invoice. You don't know how to invoice. You're not invoiced, you're silent. You're lenting again. Hey, because you're not, the sound's not at its peak because it's a wave. The sound's not at its peak. You're getting no hearing. You're not getting a hearing over here in your court because you're being represented again. No one can present you. You're the present. In the present, present yourself. It's pretty simple stuff. This is what's going on. You know, you need to listen. Listen twice. Question everything twice and listen twice. Do you? Because then you have respect. You have a second view. You can look at things from another perspective. From your personal perspective, maybe. Hey, you can change your perspective through looking at things at different angles. And once you start to understand the depth and the different levels of communication going on within these spells and these words, your minds will actually change. This stuff changes your mind. And it does it because it rings true. Because you can see it, can't you? You can see it. It's in front of your face. They've got to tell you what they're doing. And again, the words, they cast the spells. English is equivocal. It's duplicit by its nature. And if our frequencies through our language is not in accord, and it's always in discord, then no wonder we're not going to be able to communicate, folks. You know, no wonder that we're not able to find common ground, because we're not on the ground. We're at sea. We're all drowning because all this stuff's unfathomable. It's all got volume. You know, the volume of things. Volume's measured in water. Liquids are measured in volume. Ah, but so is sound, Norm. Sound, isn't it? Is measured in volume as well. Or hertz, is it? Is that what that is? There's a source there somewhere. It's in formation. I can see it forming. I can hear her breathing. So this is what's happened. You know, we're selling, we're on sale. We're on sale. We love a good sale. We like to buy things at the sale. But the words are wards. The words are wards, and they're getting us into pens. The pens are getting us into wards, even though we're all born in a ward. Ward 5 in the hospital, in the delivery room, because they're delivering something. The cargo is being delivered. The birth is being delivered. See how that works? They're telling you all along. They've been telling you all along. They have to. Because it confers your consent. And while you continue consent, they're going to continue doing what they're doing, folks. It's pretty simple stuff. Solution. You need to get back into the solution. Solution's back in the water again. Oh, well. But solution, we can drink. and we can quench our thirsts till our cups are overflowing. Our value, our worth is overflowing, and we can quench the thirsts of others, because there's a lot of thirsty people out there because they're under pressure. They're under the press of the press, and it's depressing. It's depressing you with all the stories and fairy tales, keeping you in a state of discord, giving you the news. It's misinforming you. You're not informed when you watch the news, folks, or TV. You're being misinformed. That's how they roll. So you need to start testing some of these cons that have been sent, and raise your voices and get back over here with a bit of volume, a real volume, speaking at its peak on the land, affirming things in accordance with each other. We do that by communication, and communication is 60% visual, so best we do it face to face. Best we do it face to face as the chiefs of our vessels, with our temples and our crowns fully intact, mastering our ships, being the masters of our ships and navigating those waters. That's how it works. That's how it works. But we're getting booked. We're getting booked, but we're being told all about it. You know, the copyright, the Crown. The Crown is copyright ownership, okay? The Crown, there was a lady put a post out the other day about how the Crown is a fictional entity. Well, yes, it is, because it operates over here. It operates over here in the land of the dead. That's why you get summoned to court, folks. They summons the spirits, don't they? Alcohol. The alcohol's a god. It steals your spirit. That's why alcohol's called spirits. Summons. They summons you to court in the person. Remember the person? In the person. Because it's a contract. It's a fictional entity, folks. But you put your hand up as a living being. You put your hand up. The living being in this world here, living, breathing being with love in their hearts and blood in their veins and consciousness, is getting sucked over into here, and you're putting your hands up for commercial entities, for a commercial enterprise, the old Starship Enterprise. That was Star Trek. Captain Kirk of the church. Churches are denominations, they're businesses. Denominations are 10s, 20s, 50s. It's an enterprise, it's a business. And you've been caught. You're continually getting caught. Because there's no objections. You might plea, when you get in there you'll plea, which is meaning please, which again is back into that beggar role. To err and to beg is to apply. The legal definition of application is to beg. You are begging for rights and privileges you already have, folks, but they're getting you into the hue of man because you've been too old and you've passed on. And this is what's happening. You're getting into the world of the dead. You're being summoned, raising the dead. You're not getting a hearing because the dead can't speak. So you've got to be represented by the lawyer or the attorney or the barrister. The bar, again, you're on the water. The lawyers, I've told you about lawyers called grammarians. They were there as a gram was a measure. Remember, to measure was a measure. They would weigh things up, the scales of justice, and then ma. Ma meant to confuse, to con the fuse, to fuse the con. See how everything's backwards. It's upside down and it's inside out, but it's all there. You're just not reading it right, because then you're red, aren't you? Then you're red. Reeds are in the water, aren't they? Aren't those reeds in the water? Oh, well, you are. We're 70% water, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense, doesn't it? Makes sense. Where is it? Oh, I haven't got sense back over here. I thought I had it there. Sense and sense. C-E-N-T-S. That's how it works. Because again, they've just got to tell you. They've got to tell you what's going on. Oh, sure, I get a little. So over here we've got cents. And dollars. Remember dollar or dollar or dolan meant pain, it's Latin. Dollar means pain. And then you got bill, they want you to be ill. Invoice, you're not invoice over here, folks. You're in discord. There's no harmony over here. And you're not sure, are you? Over here you're sure. Over here you're sure, you see, because you're on land. Over here you're in surety. You're in surety. You haven't got the title. You've got possession. And you've got all the liability over here. But you don't have any title. There's no title here. Title was standing, isn't it? Standing. That's what that is. Overstanding, understanding, and understanding. That's what that is. So we need to get back from that world there, back over to here, back into the land of the living. And we do that with information. Information's power, gives us knowledge. The knoll that's on the edge, the little knoll, the hill, standing on the edge looking out. Raising the dead. Bringing this stuff alive, actually. This stuff here. It's all coming back alive again. Because you're starting to see the veils of the lies and the prostitutes and the misinformation and disinformation and sleight of hand from the Magi, from Medea. Medea, that's what they do, remember? Medea. And the magicians, remember the magicians? The Magi, they all work out of Hollywood. Wait a minute. Oh, I'll leave you over there. They worked out of Hollywood. Well, in Medea, the ancient place, is where the soothsayers, the magicians and the oracles all used to hang out. And so the kings would send their pages over there to figure out whether they would invade this country or grow fruit or grow vegetables or whatever it was they were going to grow. And so they would go and seek the wisdom of the oracles in Medea. Now Medea ended up being the Magi. They called them the Magi. The Magi's operated from a place called Hollywood. It's very interesting that a lot of the Magi in the old days would have a stick or a staff, wouldn't they? And often it was made from the wood of the holly tree. The wood of the holly tree, folks. The Hollywood. And what's the idea of Hollywood and the Magi? Of the Medea? It's pretty simple, really. It's straight out magic, remember? It's straight out magic. So we'll put that there. See how it's straight out magic? It's the magic, straight out magic, magistrate. You know, because you've been caught. And it's sleight of hand. All the magicians, it's sleight of hand, isn't it? Again, they've got to tell you what they're doing. He sits, incidentally, he sits on a thing called a bench, which is a Latin word that means bank, okay? So he doesn't care who's paying, someone's paying. Because it's straight out magic here, folks. And it's sleight of hand. It's to get you to look over here while the real business is going on over here. Let me show you that again. It's to get you to look over here Well, the real business is going on over here. You see that? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you over into that world, and they do it by magic. Because they do it with the words, the spellings, the prostitutes, the TV, the monitor, the programs they give you. It's all lies, folks. It's all lies, but there's hidden truths in there. Because once you start to dispel the discord and the cipher, once you start to dispel the ciphers and decipher and learn to descript, because it's all scripture, isn't it? It's all scripture. See, so many people say, oh, so many things are happening like what's going on in the Bible. Well, of course, because it's scripture. I mean, it's like a play. It's an act. It's theatre, folks. It's theatre. You are all the actors on the stage of life. Hey, are you sure? You want to be pretty sure about that. You want to have, you are on the front row seat. You want to take captainhood of your ship. Hey, you want to be captains of your ships? Be the head of the game, don't you? We need to get into accord and get out of that discord. Because we're listing. Our vessels are listing. We're in rocky seas. We're in stormy waters. Here in New Zealand, we're just into level 3. I think about 1 week maybe into level 3 of this farcical COVID Corona Queen lockdown. Corona's the Queen, you know that, don't you? Spanish Queen. The Queen's the reign of the Queen. They've got to tell you what they're doing. They got to make you sick, folks, and they get you out of disharmony. I'll show you how they do that. They make you sick. That's what they do. They make you sick out of disharmony. Out of disharmony. That's what they're doing. There is no harmony here. There is no universe here. There's discord, folks. There's discord spells, spelling, witchcraft, and all sorts of cursive language going on. With all the dissing and the cussing, and the conning, and the versing. You see how that all works? And the discord, fractured, shaky ground, liquefaction. That's the word I was looking for. You're not on ground, you're on liquefaction, folks. It's infiltrated by the water. You're becoming insolvent. They're drawing off your vessels all your value, your worth, and it's costing you dearly, folks. You need to be a bit more vigilant. Start asking why. You see that? In your cult. Because it is your cult. This is your culture, folks. It's your cult. You see that? This is the vocabulary, the lexicon, the dictatorship, the dictionary of your language and form of communication. And it's putting you all in a pen. You're losing your ability to write, to be the author of your rights. You're losing the ability to be the author of your rights, and you're becoming the signatories and signing it away. The nature of your sign. It should be red too. Wasn't it red? Didn't they sign in blood, leaving your mark? Of course they did, because that was the value. That was the gold. That was the ore. You see how that works? We all turn vain though, folks. We all turn vain. We forgot how to be allowed. We kept asking for permission from the prostitutes if we're allowed. Because they interview, don't they? They get in between the real view. And all they are is repeaters, folks. They're just repeaters. They don't report. Well, they do report, don't they? They get you back into the sea again. Into the... To continue to siphon off your liquidity of your vessel so that you keel over. Another shipping term. They want you to keel over so that you're dead in the water. in your lullaby, because you're in a lull with the cipher. They've got you in the lullaby where there's no wind, and you need wind to carry the sound of your voice, don't you? Oh yeah, that rings true. That sounds reasonable. Hey, because you're able to reason. That's why that sounds reasonable. It's pretty simple stuff when you start to look at the ink and start to think. Get yourselves out of the sink, because it's going to drain you, that sink, unless you learn how to drink from the fountains and the liquids of life, which is water. Hey, you don't want to be dead in that water, because that's going to make you sick. And it's going to make you sick, because it sounds like there's something going on, folks. Sounds like something's going on, because they like to wave. They like to wave at you. They do, because you're little vessels out on the ocean. Still waters. They can't have you in still waters, even though that was good music. But it's all about the deflection, to deflect you from what's really going on. So when the Magi is getting you to look over here, you know there's something else going on, folks. And so I say to you this, with this COVID stuff, when there's something going on over there that they want you all to look at, there's something else going on behind the scenes they don't want you to look at. And so that's your job, folks. We need to start looking at things in a different way and weigh things up so that we can measure things in accordance with each other. So we can measure things and be in accord. And then we can make a true record. Because we like to record, don't we? Then we're in harmony again. The ha of the money. Maybe. Maybe. At the moment, we're in a messy age. It's called an error, and there's been a mistake. There's been attack, actually. Remember the attack? The ship on the sea attacks? Attacks left, then right, then left. Do you see? Do you see what I mean? And it's the beginning, isn't it? Well, it's the end. It's the end of our alpha beta. This is the end. It's the end, but is it really the beginning? Is there attack starting off? And then there's the Y. Oh, there's the mark. There's the mark. Do you see? Again, you start despelling and deciphering and decoding the signs, which are symbols that convey energy and information that you download subconsciously, and consciously. You think you're over here, you'll think you're over here, but you're not. This is what your subconscious is all picking up. This is what your subconscious, and this is why you don't feel in harmony, or you don't feel right, your vibration's not quite right, or a sense of your intuition is out. You're intuiting something. There's something you know that you can't quite put your finger on it to figure out, because it's all about the figures, which is done with division, times, isn't it? Negative or minus. They mine us, folks. Mine us and pretend it's all equal. They don't. They've got to tell us what they're doing. And they're doing it in every single way you could imagine possible. Once you start opening your eyes to this stuff, you can't stop. It will change the way your brain works. Because they've got you into a certain state of mind, folks. They've got you into a certain state of mind. And it's your mind sight. It's your state of mind. That's the real estate, folks. That's the real estate back on the land. It's called real estate. Let's put that one in there. You want to get back to your real estate. Because that's the real estate, isn't it? Hey, but they're attacking that. They're pulling you out of that, man. They're raising you over here. They're getting the living to put their hands up for the corporation or entity that they created at your birth. And they're getting you to give life to the dead. They get you in the dock, you cross the bar, they get you in the dock, don't they? That's the paddock, folks, because they section you. Have I written that in there? They section you and they put you in the dock, the paddock. It's the paddock. Again, they've got to tell you what they're doing. It's all about the land and the sea and the water and you and your vessel, because you're a carrier of all of that. We're made from the dust, the atom, the atom. Remember I showed you that the other day. You are the land. Can't hold water. Hey, it doesn't hold water over here. Funnily enough, that's the law of the sea, commercial admiralty banking law, but it doesn't hold water, folks. The irony. The irony of it. There's no water being held over there, but over here, you've got at least 60, 70%, maybe more, who knows what they tell us. Tell us. They tell us and then we're told, aren't we? We're told and we're passed on. Don't get caught into those constructs of thinking and thinking you know. Thinking we know things, folks. So we don't really know what we don't know until we know it. And that changes our perspective again. And the impress. And that's impressive. Because it's all about the information that's being conveyed. Tell lies in vision. That's what your TV does. It tells lies in vision because it's not real. It's not there. You can't touch the people on the screen. It's a facade. It's a persona. Your person. That's what they do. And you sit there and go into the alpha beta state, the alpha state, don't you? That's where they want you, in the land of the dead. Passive. Passive, they want you. They don't want you being active, that's for sure. And they call you revolting, don't they? And everything moves. I mean, atoms move. Protons, neutrons, electron, the carbon atom. 6 ions, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Oh, sorry, the ionic makeup of carbons, 666. Again, telling you what's going on once you understand. And so this has all been impressed upon you. It's all been impressed upon you through the programming, the education system. Again, it's a system. It's a system to get you from there over to there. And it works pretty well, doesn't it? Because they even say, welcome. Welcome. Do you think well? And your ink well? And your pen? And your little pens and your cells? Because you're the battery. But it's a Sultan battery that's going on here, and it's current. It's current. And your little arc. Your little arcs. At sea. So yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what's going on. Okay, and they've just got to tell you. They've got to tell you what they're doing because it confers your consent. Okay, I'm actually going to leave it there because the other 1 hour video I did the other day was too long. I couldn't load it up on my Instagram page. But check out my Not The Norm page, guys. I'm going to load it up here and also check out another page I run. There is the Common Law Association of New Zealand, otherwise known as CLANS, where we're in the stages of a group of us just trying to re-establish a declaration, declaration of independence. We actually already got one. We've actually already got a Declaration of Independence, more like a proclamation, but it's the 1835 Declaration of Independence of New Zealand, which I'm going to get into at some stage. Hei whakaputanga, or hei wakaputanga actually. So the Matua explained to the audience when I was up in Waitangi at the marae I went up to the marae there, and a mātua came in and carried the flag, and he says it's the wakaputanga, not the whakaputanga. So again, you know, words, and there's going to be implications for the changes of those letters, because if you're letting a property and you change the occupants of the words, or the occupants of the housing of the pen, then it's going to change the whole colour of the word, of the ward, of the idea. So we're trying to get back to a declaration of sovereignty and independence with our government. So yeah, pretty exciting times, because there's lots of stuff going on, and we need to be involved in it, folks, because it's time to step out of the constructs, hey, and let's get back out there and in harmony again. In harmony, voluntary association, folks. Let's take it over. Let's own it. Remember, because we're all a bit of light, organically vibrating energy. Get back to the hearts of the matter. Heart of the matter is your mind. Because if you don't mind, it won't matter, remember? Let's get back to the truth, the heart of the truth, because home is where the heart is. And that all makes sense, doesn't it? So, be aware. Acknowledge your gift of divinity, folks. Whether it incites you or incites you, it will still bring you back to this. One way or the other. That's what happens. So be careful what you're listening to from those prostitutes out there. Be careful of the media leading the people. Be aware of the propaganda and the different meanings of the words, the persons, and get out of the world of the fiction, which is your legislation, government, rules, documentation, licenses, permit, corporations, legal entities, you know, the world of the dead, all that stuff there we've been going over. This world here, where they book you and they charge you, and they bind you, and they summons you, and they ticket you, and they charge you and fine you and ticket you. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? A ticket, oh, it's all fine, oh, getting charged up. It's not, folks, it's not very good. It's not fine, it's not good. It's rape, pillage and plunder, that's what piracy is. Okay, the old cons on the piracy. That's what they do. It's what conspiracy is all about. Or conspiracy, I should say, sorry. All about confusing and constructions. Yeah, and destruction. That's what it's all about. So get back to your true identity. Stand up for your gifts of divinity. Exercise them. Speak up. Speak loud. And keep vibrating. And get back to those, eh? Thanks for joining us. Love and light.